This is even funnier.
Oh, this is a nightmare.
Q, how are
We
you?
haven't had this kind of problem in a long time. Oh, there we go. Okay, now it's going. Oh, okay, guys. Welcome to Out of the Darkness. I am your eternally
Hold
boomer.
on, guys. I still have zero sound.
Oh.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
We can hear you, yes.
I can hear you. You can't hear us. Now, there was an old Hangouts problem where if you got out of a show and came back in, the sound would work.
Okay.
I've not drank enough yet for this night.
Yeah, I know. I need to pour something harsh.
Sorry guys for that. We had some really good bants there talking about how we're terrible with boomering and
all right. I can hear you
us now.
Oh, okay.
Oh, thank goodness. Yeah. Oh,
cool. There we go. We're all in.
Running the volume through running the volume through my speakers is not working, or through my my mic is not working. So all right.
You guys make me look like Stephen Hawking.
Well, thank you. Or you're welcome, I should say.
Yeah. I if you weren't right, I would probably have something to say about that, Doug.
Yeah, of course, of course. So you can hear us okay now?
I can hear you guys okay. Yeah, I definitely heard that last zinger loud and clear. So
good.
Congrats on that. So, all right. I'm imagining that I'm pretty grainy right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, what were you guys discussing before I rudely interrupted you?
We were worried, trying to work out why audio wasn't going out to the actual stream.
We were laughing at how the show had zero audio while it was broadcasting the first 5 to 7 for 7.
So I don't know, something about you cursed the computer that was sending it out. Because I swear, just before you went to reboot, I had the audio running through my headset to what was going over the stream, and it was going just fine.
Imagine that. Well, I'm glad that it worked. I am on the wrong router. So
So you're on the low end router. Is that why you're getting the chunky?
Yeah, I'm on the bootleg router right now.
It works. It's good enough. It's like YouTube 7 years ago.
I've been getting a lot of suggestions for stuff like 8-10 years ago. Lately, it's really weird, and it's really weird seeing the low resolution videos.
Yeah. Rural says it's all Doug's fault. That is a fact. I have so much boomer going through my veins that when I come on, it gets communicated through the internet. It's worse than.
You have an excuse though, because you're an actual boomer though.
I am an actual. Well, not quite. Yeah. I'm still 53, which I'm off by a year or two. I'm out of the boomer.
You're only 53?
Yeah.
What happened?
What do you mean what happened? I don't go out in the sun. That's what happened. I sit at a drawing table all day instead of go outside and play like normal men.
That was just for the Stephen Hawking comment. So, yeah. It's all right.
Computer and code. Yeah.
Oh man. So fantastic. Thank you so much for being on. I thoroughly appreciate it. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but I'm not sure. My computer kept on crashing for some reason, and it kept on wanting to restart. Many would say that using a Mac was my first mistake. Yeah, maybe that was the case. So
sounds like the problem.
Yeah, it must have been the problem.
Although I was using Windows for mine, and there were still problems there. Apparently.
Yeah, I do work over there on a Mac, and then I stream on this PC.
Okay. So now that they say for art that Macs are easier, is that a true statement?
It is. It's a little more elegant, a little softer, a little less of a hot rod, and a little more solid state. So if
Okay.
you buy a art program, the first thing they're trying to build it for is Mac. Whereas if you buy like a PC game, the first thing they're trying to build it for is a PC. So
Okay.
usually there's one platform that's leading that it's all designed to.
Okay.
So
So
production
now,
art tends to be Mac.
are you much of a gamer then?
Not these days, no.
So
I still play like old 1998 Command and Conquer on a
okay.
on a old. It's called CNC Net. It's like some old fan site that put up some of the old Command and Conquer games, so you can still play. I still play with my friends from 1998, and we play about two or three games a day on Tiberium Sun, and we go to war with our little strategies. That is the most fun I'll ever have. But all the new games, my kids play the new games, and I don't do any of that.
Yeah. So the most fun that I typically have gaming, well, I had gaming was probably Oregon Trail.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's about the extent of my gaming experience. Played some Earthworm Jim back in the day.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're
Well,
welcome. See, we
my
had a connection
my parents
25 years
actually
ago.
my parents should have been thanking you, because as long as I was doing that, I was leaving them alone. So
Yeah.
yeah.
The babysitter.
Yeah, I was electronic babysitter. So I've watched some of your streams. I was on a stream with you, with Nick's 24-hour stream.
Yeah, that was great.
I was absolutely 100% mesmerized by the drawing that you were doing. So you were kind of multitasking.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what was more impressive, your ability to animate, or your ability to animate while conversing with Nick.
Yeah.
Both were pretty amazing. I can barely walk and chew bubblegum. So that was pretty impressive.
It's easy for me to draw if I'm not writing, like if I'm
Okay.
drawing, because it uses a different hemisphere of the brain. So you
Sure.
talk and think with one side, and the other side is just kind of this autopilot. It's doing a different form of problem solving with the art side that it doesn't cross. It doesn't cross at all.
So I don't talk about this a lot, but last year when we first started doing the show, we were kind of really off on our times. We could never, consistently do our shows because I was diagnosed with epilepsy. So I had a lot of I was having quite a few seizures at the time.
Dang.
And thank God we've kind of gotten that figured out, and we're doing better.
Is it solved with medication? How's that solved? Like anti-epilepsy?
Yeah, we've got me on some anti-convulsion meds, but between that and actually sleeping now, I've got
and getting off crack.
Right, getting off crack helps out a little bit. They say I should smoke more weed, but I just can't quite get with that program.
Yeah. You want to work for a living, so
yeah. But the anticonvulsion meds are helping. I played a lot of football, and concussions and things like that didn't help. So, but it is what it is. We're doing better now. But I said that only to talk about the hemispheres of the brain, right?
Yeah.
So I had a very good friend of mine growing up. His mother had terrible epilepsy issues, and they tried medication, they tried all types of different things, and finally they did what was called a split brain surgery.
Yeah.
Where they separated her right and left hemisphere of her brain. Yeah. And it was the coolest thing, because I watched this woman write two separate papers on two separate topics at the exact same time.
Yeah.
So she could be writing a story about poodles in one hand, and writing an essay about the Industrial Revolution on the other. I mean, It was absolutely insane. So to hear you talk about that, I'm thinking, yeah, absolutely. There's definitely different functions, but I couldn't. I mean, I thought, man, that would be so cool in college, oh man, I would have been
Yeah.
I would have been
When I was
up.
younger, I was nearly ambidextrous, so
Okay.
I could draw with one hand, or even write forward with one hand and write with my other hand, like upside down and backwards.
Oh wow.
Uh, Another one we do is you do a square and a triangle. It's really hard to do a square with one hand and a triangle with the other. Give it a
Okay.
try. It's like you have to have the two hemispheres working at separate. So square with one hand and a triangle with the other is another good thing. And autistic
Yeah.
people
Oh
have
my
a
gosh,
problem
that
with,
is trippy.
yeah, autistic people have a problem with the signals going between them. It's often what is the problem with autism is the right and left hemispheres are
Wow.
goofing
That's
up.
that is trippy. Like I'm still trying to figure out that whole tapping your stomach and tapping the top of
Yeah.
your head at the same time. Yeah, I haven't quite figured that one out either. But we're making progress. We're making
Yeah.
progress.
Hey, if you're not having as many seizures or convulsions, that's good.
Yeah, no, it's a lot better. So, when I first started having them, I didn't tell my wife, and when she finally found out, yeah, that wasn't
Yeah.
good.
You have one because you have one while you're driving, and they will pull your card.
Yeah, and they actually did. So thank goodness Soder was around. He was my. It was kind of like, I don't know if you ever watched that movie Driving Miss Daisy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You'd sit in the back seat.
Soder was Morgan Freeman. So
Hoke, you're a good man, Hoke.
And I guess that would make me the old white lady. So
That's right. You're the old white lady. He was the black guy driving you around.
We were just the rebooted Driving Miss Daisy.
Yeah, the new one.
Right. Yeah. No, man,
where everything's swapped.
Yeah.
You know, I tell you what, though, all jokes to the side, when you go through trials like that, it certainly makes you appreciate the smaller things that you often take for granted. So sometimes I feel like good Lord gives us trials in our life. Man, I tell you, I was talking to a group of young people probably 3 months ago, and I was saying I think that the one thing that we miss the most, you can talk about, education, you can talk about politics, you can talk about any of those things. I think the one thing missing most from our culture is thankfulness. I just don't think there's enough of that gratitude. Because we really are very fortunate people. We can complain and we can, be upset about situations not being what they ought to be, but we are very fortunate people, extremely fortunate.
And,
I mean,
and
our
gratitude is the
case,
key to happiness. So if you don't say thank you often, then you become an ingrate and you become a very unhappy person. So we're probably unhappier than we've been, though we've had more stuff because we're not thankful.
It's very true. My grandfather used to always say happiness is a choice.
Yeah, that's true.
You gotta choose to be happy. So I didn't quite agree with that, but the older I get, the more I realize, there's maybe some truth to that. So, but yeah, you're the man of the hour. I'm so thankful that you were willing to come on the show.
I appreciate the invite. I'll come on and hang with you anytime. I'll have you guys on my show too. I just hang and talk while I draw, and you guys can just fart around if you're there. You guys can talk about any. That's what I like about your show, Q, is you talk about anything.
Talk about. I don't know if it's got us in trouble too sometimes, but it's just got to be real. I mean, the vision originally, the funny story started. Soder was on me for over a year saying, we should do a show. We should do a show. And
No. I said, you should do a show. You should do a show. They're not going to kick a black man.
You could say anything you want. That's not fair. You have Teflon.
I tell you what, and I'm starting to wonder if I should test the extent of that theory. So,
do it. Just go a little farther each show. Well, that didn't do it.
While you guys are talking, I'm going to sign us up for D Live.
D Live, you can say anything, man. I play copyrighted music and just I'll do
Oh
whatever.
man.
D Live
Well,
is like it's like snuff films over there.
so tell so
Wow.
what I don't know how much of this is if I get too far into your business, tell me it's none of my
No,
business and
I'm
I'll move on.
open book, man. Anything is
So
fine.
so where are you from originally?
I was born in LA, but I was raised up in the San Joaquin Valley of California. It's a farming area. So I got
Yep.
a lot of redneck in me, but it's like California redneck. So it's not like inbred redneck.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I went back down to school for college. I went down to San Diego to Point Loma Nazarene College. I went to a Nazarene college, met my wife, kind of started, and I was a fine art major. So that's my background. It's more like I'm a California guy living
Sure.
here in Tennessee. I've been here 8 years, and it doesn't feel like home.
Right. So I mean, well, there's a huge difference in California and in Tennessee
Yeah.
for certain. Now, were your folks Californians also?
They were when they met, but now they're out in Colorado. So they're kind of retired out there in
There are a lot of Californians moving to Colorado.
They pour into Nevada, Arizona, Colorado, Texas, gets all of California's. And
I'm a Texas boy, and I don't mind Californians. I just don't like their ideology.
Yeah.
So I wish they would check that at the New Mexico border. And we welcome everybody. Just don't bring the same ideology that made California what it is today.
Californians ruin everything. The good news is the worst Californians live on the coast, and they're not going to ever leave that coast. That coast is beautiful. So most of the other areas, it's Christians leaving California going, we can't raise a family here anymore.
Well, until the big earthquake in their island, I think that'll raise land values in Utah pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Utah will have mountains and ocean. That'll be fantastic. I'll move to Utah then. I don't know. I might have to talk to our guest from last week and see what I need to do to like register to marry like several women if I move to Utah.
Or are they still allowing polygamy out there? I thought they.
Oh man, our guest 2 weeks ago gave us the key to the matrix, told us how we can get away with it without actually going to jail. So
there you go.
Tried and true method. So
good advice on your show too. A little life.
Absolutely. So yeah, he gave us the key to the matrix, gave us the I guess the old diddly do on how to get away with it and how to not go to jail. And I believe him. I mean, he's talking about it on a widely syndicated show like this. I mean, holy smokes, you never know who might be watching.
They're going to learn. And why would any guy want multiple wives when most women already have multiple personalities? There's like 6 of them in there already. You get like 3 of them in there, you're dealing with like 29 personalities.
The interesting part about it is that he I would be down with the whole idea, but with multiple wives comes multiple mother-in-laws.
Yeah.
And
Thanksgiving would be a mess.
I hadn't considered that before.
That would, and to be real honest with you, I got really lucky. I have a phenomenal mother-in-law. Thank you, Mom, because I know you're watching. A phenomenal mother-in-law, and I don't want to test my luck because I could end up with a really bad one. Because it seems like most of my buddies have really bad mother-in-laws. So. Yeah. I think it's a lot easier to get a bad one than get a good one. So, and I'm sure you got a fantastic one, Doug.
I love my wife, but you marry the wife, and that's the one who comes into your house and you build a life together. You're not, we're not doing multi-generations in the family these days. So I can handle Christmas and Easter fine.
Yeah, so my mother-in-law spends a great deal amount of time with us. My father-in-law passed away 2 years ago. And so she's with us quite a bit. So she's definitely a big part of our family. So yeah.
You got kids?
We do. We have 4 of them. So
yeah, I got 4.
Yeah, it's a good number.
So you get grandma around. That's good.
Yeah, man, the kids are absolutely. Yeah, they love it. Absolutely love it. So I mean, so your parents. So which one is the artsy one?
Neither.
Really?
Yeah, I
So
came from, my dad swung a hammer, and mom was a homemaker and a teacher's aide. Now, on her side of the family, my grandmother did do some drawing. We found them
okay.
from like the 30s, 1930s when she was a kid.
So
But
you were the
it,
mailman's kid.
yeah, exactly. It was the mailman was very creative. He was a Picasso. Yeah, my parents, my dad largely told me like, don't, you shouldn't draw, you shouldn't do art. It was
Yeah.
no support, which was a very good for me to get my fighting spirit in and make sure that that was the first obstacle to overcome as an artist.
Wow. So I mean, so how did that start? Do you go to the Nazarene school
Yeah.
and you decide you want to what made you want to pursue art?
It's really all I'm good at. It's if I sit down and draw, I know what I'm doing. And as soon as
Yeah.
I leave this studio, I don't know what I'm doing. So that the
You
art
know,
side for me was always easy.
so at what point did at what age did you realize, hey, I want to pour myself into art?
Oh, always. I always thought ever since I was a kid, I always thought if I could trick the universe into, having a job in the arts, I'm going to do it. And by hell or high water. So it was always just innate in me. And, but I also assumed by college, by the time I graduated, I said, look, it's probably not going to work. So I'll probably just be a waiter, and then I'll just draw and paint on my own all day, after work.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I'm a firm believer that everyone has something that they are really, really good at,
Yeah.
and everyone has a gift. The sad part is many people who go through their entire life and they never really discover what that gift is. But I believe that there's a scripture that says, man's gift will make room for him and bring him before great men.
Oh, that's good.
But the one thing that I can say is the one thing that I know that I am better at than anyone else is being me, right?
Yeah,
There has never been a better cue
that's right.
ever created, right? And so I've just had to learn I have to be who I am and embrace who I am and embrace my personality. And there are going to be some people that absolutely love that. But there's the equal amount of people, maybe more, that think that is just the most repulsive thing in the whole wide world.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with that. I've come to peace with that. So
You can split the whole world up into people who absolutely adore me and absolutely detest me. And it's pretty much 50-50. I'm just going, I didn't do anything to earn these people's praise, and I didn't do anything to earn these people's vile attacks, but I just go, that's just the way it is. Yeah, you're not going to please everybody.
so walk me through this. So you graduate college. So what was your first art gig?
I mean, it really started even back in college. I was illustrating Sunday school illustrations. I'd do them. It was like cheap. It was like $1.50 an illustration, maybe $2, and they'd give them like to me by the hundreds, and that helped put me through school. Just real simple little drawings of kids. That was my first freelance job, and then when I graduated college, I was a muralist at SeaWorld. So I got my first job at SeaWorld painting murals. It got me into theater. I was hanging lights in theater. But really the big break, and I was doing illustration in San Diego, like for the Union Tribune and little throwaway newspapers, those little, the freebies they give away, like at the 7-Eleven. I was doing illustrations for them. But I was always animating on my own, like drawing, animating. And then a video game company was looking for contract work. Well, I did Saturday morning cartoons in 91. That was my first year. A year out of marriage, I got a job on Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, and I started animating.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And it was like just garbage animation, like just as
I
fast as you
vaguely
can
remember
draw.
that show.
I don't think that's on your Wikipedia page.
It should be. If it's not there, it should be. That was
I don't
probably
think it is.
my first gig. And they were owned by Marvel. So it was like Marvel Animation was my first job, which is weird because I ended up doing so many comics since then.
Wow. So you get a job doing Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. That must have been what, late 80s?
It was 90 to 91.
Okay.
when I
Okay.
worked on that.
So late 80s.
Yeah, basically might as well have been. And then when that job ended, it spilled a bunch of artists like out into San Diego looking for work. And a friend of mine got a bunch of contract work doing video game animation. And I'm like, what is this? Like, I had no idea that was even made in San Diego. And little did I know, but there was probably 12 little startup companies trying to build animation for the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo. So this is when those two were both
greatest
launching.
gaming systems ever made to this day. Absolutely.
Yeah,
well, I mean, Atari was pretty fantastic too, but
it was. That's the one that I was raised on. I did the Atari 2600 and I bought the 5200 too, but the 2600 was the one that we were all raised on. That thing just went everywhere. But Genesis and Nintendo, they had to fund a bunch of teams even to do crap games because they needed more titles for their system, which is how you sell the system. And install base, it was like a giant arms race, you know?
Right.
The install base is everything. Well, suddenly all these companies had too much work and their animators were too slow. So one thing I can do is junk out I'm the fastest animator there is. And because I'm not perfect. And so they would give you these little parameters of the character has to be 8 pixels tall by 4 pixels wide, or 16 pixels tall by 8 pixels wide were the increments. And they would give you the palettes. And they sent me home they bought me like I think it was a 286 Intel 286 is this crawler machine. And I was such a boomer even back then. Like I was a 23-year-old boomer, 25-year-old boomer. I could not figure the machine out. Like I didn't know how to copy a file. You know, back when it was like you were writing code because there's no operating system.
Yeah,
like anything
Windows 3.1.
Yeah, there's no drag and drop or anything like that. And it was all animated on Deluxe Animator. And within that first year, I remembered I went from making like $4,000 a year as an illustrator to making enough money to save $12,000, which became a down payment on a house 3 years later.
Wow.
Within a year, because all I did is I worked day and night because I've always been a workaholic.
Sure.
So they said, how many illustrations can you do? And I would do all of the animation for an entire video game in 2 weeks. And they would just go, this is the guy. And then my rate started going up over the next year. And then I got my first salary job in 92, might have been the end of 91 for Blue Sky Software. They did all the John Elway games for Genesis.
Yep.
We did the Little Mermaid game. I did Jurassic Park for Genesis. That was my first art lead. I did the Ren and Stimpy's invention for Genesis.
Ren and Stimpy, greatest cartoon on
Ren and Stimpy. I got to see all the storyboards from the show before it came out. Because they give you all the material, to build the game on. I got to see all the Jurassic Park stuff. I got to visit the set before anyone's even heard of Jurassic Park.
Oh wow!
And then, because of my work on Jurassic Park, I got a job offer up at Virgin which was up in Orange County. So I moved from San Diego to Orange County, and I would just move wherever we would move wherever the work was. My wife and I. She was very cool. She goes, I don't care wherever you want to go, and basically every year I would double my salary by moving around and went to Virgin. And then from Virgin, a bunch of guys left and started Shiny Entertainment, where we made Earthworm Jim. And I just lucked out and got that job. And then they started asking the crew, they asked me to create something to prove that I could get the job or something. And I brought into my job interview. I created Earthworm Jim and all the bad guys in 45 minutes. Brought it in, got the job, and then this was a high-end video. These guys were like really good with video games. Like they did 7-Up Cool Spot game, Global Gladiators, the Jungle Book game, Aladdin was huge. They're the guys that cracked. They did Aladdin in 4 months, which was unheard of. They blew this amazing, one of the best games ever made. And so they were very friendly to animators. They loved animation. These guys were really innovative, really young. They would give anybody who had 8 guys together, they'd let you start a company and start a team and just start funding you with, $750,000 game budget to do a game.
Oh my gosh. Wow. And so that was that was kind of the would you say that was the pinnacle? Was that the dream job?
It was really hard, but we were really young. So we're like 27 maybe by then. I was 27, 26, 27.
Okay.
And we were all about the same age, super aggressive, super young. We would just work. We were 8 guys, but we would all work, 16-hour days, 7 days a week was normal.
Wow.
And so you're putting out the amount of work of like 3 teams.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with Earthworm Jim, it was about hitting the right tone at the right place. Like all that Ren and Stimpy was inspiring me, all the Warner Brothers cartoons, Tex Avery, Ninja Turtles had just blew up, before that. So kind of the culture was at the right place at the right time where this idea hit. It wasn't a big deal to us. We were just like going to try our hardest on it. And then the technology by then, we had just cracked how to do paper animation and scan it and get it to work in the machine. And a lot of our technology was based on cutting up the sprites so that they could compact better on the cartridge and you could hold more animation. So our game had more animation than most.
Sure.
Just because of our technology. So we had tech guys working on that side. Tommy Tallarico came in and did the music, and he had a lot of experience with music by then on digitizing sound. I did the voice of Earthworm Jim, and the game design, the guys who were in charge of most of the actual level design, like where does the bad guy go? Where does the platform, how high does it go?
Sure.
They'd been doing games for 10 years. They'd started when they were 16 and they were working out of their car, and they were English. They were in England. And so for us to be, a lot of people complained about the Nintendo and the SNES about being such a limited game system. For them, they're like, this is the hugest amount of room we've ever been able to play in. So they had a lot of games under their belts and really knew what they were doing. And it was we created, first time out, created a legend.
That's just it's amazing to hear that. I mean, people I know people in the gaming industry that have just been trying to find that one thing, that one idea.
Magic.
Yeah, trying to catch lightning in a bottle, and you do it in 45 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know how it happened. It's like it doesn't make sense to me either. I've been creating stuff every day of my life. So when the door finally opened, I walked in, I knew what I was doing. Like I knew how to create a wacky character that would be decent. But
so my brother-in-law was really ticked off. He wanted to be on the show because
get him in.
You're his hero.
Wow. Nice.
He didn't like Soder at all. Like he thought, man, why do you have that guy? Why on the show?
What? Norwegian.
And then he was actually on the show this last week, last Sunday.
Yeah.
And he saw the Earthworm Jim poster in the background. And he's like, oh, dude, you got a special place in my heart. I love Earthworm Jim. I was like, well, you'd be really interested to find out who's going to be on the show this week. So he just sent me a message. He said, he says, I grew up playing Earthworm Jim. I love the game and the characters. I totally thought Evil the Cat was the coolest game boss of that time.
Cool. That is cool. Well, there was nothing like it on that system. And Evil the Cat came from a previous comic book that I had self-published. So I already had that character laying around, and he just looked cool, and he just went in the game.
So check this out, Jim. So I'm at that age now where I'm starting to my clients, when I first started in my industry, their kids are now my clients. Okay. Yeah. So I'm starting to get to that point where I'm like, man, I'm starting to feel old. Right. Yeah. And so check this out. He said, he says, I used to pretend that I was Evil the Cat when I'd play around in elementary with my friends. What what does that
Yeah.
do when you think that there's grown men out there with kids of their own
Yeah.
that in elementary school.
Well, I started getting my grandparents used to play that game now. I get that. Dude. It makes me feel just anxious. I'm like, what? What do you mean? Like, yeah, my grandparents.
Babies having babies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Having babies.
Well, that's a weird thing also with the popularity of the comic book in crowdfunding it. I realize the window is shrinking for the number of people who will remember this thing. And it's very weird because it just happened to be right at this weird sweet spot where people are old enough to have a lot of disposable income. It's a real good time in our economy. And then I happen to get the rights back at just this weird time when I've been trying to get the rights back for 10 years to do a comic book.
Wow.
So it was kind of a perfect storm but a lot of it had to do with these people. They were raised on it, and now they're of an age where they're working people and they have money to spend.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. No, he's a true fan. He unfortunately got stuck working late this season, and so he couldn't get on. But yeah, he's definitely a true fan. Still a gamer to this day when he can. But when you have kids, they take priority. So
yeah.
But so you get your dream job at 26, which is there's people that are in their 40s still waiting for that dream job. So, but let me ask you this: so everyone in their industry always has that guy that they look at and they say, "Man, that guy, if I could be as good as that guy."
Yeah.
That was your dream job. Who was that guy in your industry? Who was the guy you said, "Oh man, that guy is talented"?
Well, I'm kind of a hack. There's always guys way more talented than me, way more. I surround myself with talented people. So in my case, the guy that, like when I was on Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, right? I was a hack, but I had a show director named Ron Brewer who was like 5 years better than me.
Okay.
So he was the big guy. And what's weird is it would do no good if he was better than me, but would never share the information, right? He would sit down with me and talk about animation and principles. When I got when I got that gig at Shiny on Earthworm Jim, our animation director, the guy that kind of managed the animation department, there's 3 of us in the department. The one guy was named Mike Dietz, and he's still a great friend of mine today, but he is amazing. He's like an amazing manager, an amazing family man, a guy I want to be like, just a no nonsense, no BS guy, really funny, but he's a short little runner, runs marathons still, but he's like a couple years older than me, but he was so disciplined about his animation that he had a grasp of the principles that even back then that I couldn't touch, like, because it's a discipline. It's like if you sat down and started hammering at the piano and playing, and some guy just iced music theory from day one, and you tried to talk about music together. That's what he was like with animation.
Yeah.
And so him being the art director, he knew I was there for speed. He goes, "Doug, do your thing. We got some animation to do."
Right.
But he would also say, we were all great friends. The other thing is there's no competition. So he wasn't trying, he'd see me just kill it on an animation. And there was a genuine celebration. Like he would genuinely laugh. He wasn't threatened that I like nailed something and was like the hero of the day. We would all celebrate when someone, we'd always call it, "That guy can draw his ass," was the phrase we would use. If a guy was a good artist, we go, "That guy can draw his ass." But the real criteria for it was like, I drew a good hand. They'd look at the hand and it would be in a certain like animatory pose, a certain way that the characters talk and move. He'd look at that hand and go, "That's a good hand." And then if he'd see a weak animation company, he'd go, "You want to rethink that hand?" and I knew exactly what he was saying, I go, it could be clear if instead of here, you put it over here, you'd have a clear silhouette. I'd go, oh, yeah. And I'd try it again and I'd do it. But a very gentle instructor and just way better than anybody I'd heard of. Anybody who I came across, anyways, who was in my circle. And so working under him for basically, I worked with him through from 93 to 99. So for those
Okay.
6 years, I was under him.
Sure.
And we ended up doing stop motion puppet animation projects together. And we left and started our own company from Shiny. We started the Neverhood and did PC games we were one of DreamWorks' first projects was a puppet animation game. And when he got a job, he animated on like the SpongeBob Christmas special, and they needed more puppet animators to do their
Sure.
Christmas. And he called me in to do a couple shots. Just anytime any of us got work, we would call the other guys and just say, "Hey, we need some contract work. You want to come in?"
And I guess in my mind, I always assumed that the industry was very cutthroat.
Yeah.
But that sounds like it sounds like a brotherhood. Almost.
Yeah. Well, the industry itself is cutthroat. If you get the right team, though,
Sure.
because there's always assholes in some company. In this
Sure.
particular team, it wasn't that way. It was not cutthroat. It was and it really was kind of because we realized we were in such a small startup that if one guy wins, everybody will win.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
What a great attitude. There's a lot of life lessons in just that statement there. So
yeah,
what is the rising tide lifts all ships?
lifts all ships, and
Yeah,
you go after someone, and the cutthroat that I've never seen anything like it. But this last year doing indie comics is the most cutthroat pirate, monstrous, and that's just the YouTube culture. It
Yeah.
wasn't that way back then. Back then, it was much more like bros helping each other, not taking stuff so seriously, really going for it, and everyone ends up accomplishing more. And I've been the
Sure.
huge benefactor of them. And of course, because I created Earthworm Jim, so he's at this company. All of us got to put Earthworm Jim on our resume,
Sure.
and it helped everyone for like the next 10 years of jobs that we got.
Sure. So what was your what was I don't know if you could tell me this, but what was your least favorite job? What was the one you were like, oh my gosh?
I mean, there's lots of crappy jobs. Do you mean in animation or in life? Like
No.
manual labor?
Well, you know what? This might be fun. Well, being in the armpit of California,
Yeah.
what was the worst job ever? And then what was the worst job in animation?
Okay, coming out of college, I had a job where we had to clean what was called the fat tanks. That was these were huge septic tanks that were buried underground, and they would keep the molten cow fat in them to spray on chicken feed to help the chickens with their winter coat to keep them from dying, right? Well,
Sure.
once a year, they'd have to empty these things out, and because the drain all this coagulation would clog up in the drain. And so I had to go down with another guy he was a felon. They were, my partners who I worked with on these grunt jobs were always like these heavy metal felons who just got out of jail and needed a quick job. The only guy willing to do it, and you'd go down this little ladder, plastic ladder into the septic tank, and it was like a living hell down there. It was 120 degrees. To protect you from the cow fat that would burn your skin if it touched you, you had to wear like these thick, boots, knee-high boots, full body like hazmat suit, thick gloves, goggles, breathing respirator, hairnet, and earplugs, because for them to pump oxygen down there, they'd run a vacuum. So for 8 hours a day that you're working down there, you'd hear this all day. Oh.
So that's where the Doug Show intro comes from.
It's me in the fat tanks, and there was one time on a particular hot summer day, and it was all I can't even. It's 10 times worse than even that. But one time I came out of that hole, and I just passed out, like just out cold. just
Yeah.
exhaustion. It was just the creepiest, weirdest. When I hear people talk about being coal miners or working in some just awful job, I always think of that job going, yeah, I experienced that for a time. And there's some people that have to do that their whole life. And so that also put the work ethic in me for animation, where I just work like crazy because I pretend like it's manual labor. And
Right.
this is what rescues me from having to go back and do that kind of a job.
I'm a firm believer that everyone needs to work a job like that.
Yeah.
I worked some jobs growing up that, number one, I appreciate what God's given me at this point, but number two, I never want to go back to that.
Yeah. Yeah. And coming from the manual, I did a lot of, I was a farm hand. I shoveled maggots one summer from under truck scales. That's what I assumed I would do my whole life and be an artist on my own. But really, I was developing like this kind of iron sense of that when someone pays you a certain amount per hour, you owe them work. And I was reading the scriptures also, where God was my true employer and he was watching me. He was my employer and I wanted to do him proud. And one of the best days of my life was after that job, when that job wrapped up on those fat tanks. The boss of the entire feed mill, who was higher ranked than my dad at this chicken farm, this Foster Farms place, came to my dad and said, your boy is a hard worker. And he came home to me. And so here's this, fruity, imbecile artist, to my dad, who's like a army guy and just swings a hammer his whole life. And he sat me down and said that this is one of the best moments of like that. I'm so proud because I know how terrible that job is and you killed it. That I'll never forget that moment. It made me feel maybe proud for the first time in my life. And no art award or game of the year can touch that moment where my dad, it's like he laid hands on me and just kind of everything was all right. And so that's kind of I take that with me. I didn't learn my work ethic from the art department. I learned it from swinging a hammer.
Wow. So when my son comes to me and says he wants to be a florist, I should embrace that.
You should tell him. This is what I tell my kids. I want to be a professional video game player. Or I want to be a nurse, or I want to be whatever teacher. I go, I want you to be the best one anyone's ever heard of. Like, I don't care what you choose. You can go work at McDonald's. You can be in the Army. You can be a cop. You can be an artist. You better be the best one that you know how to be, because our boss is God. It's not the guy next to you doing a half-assed job on his work.
Yeah.
He's not what you'll be compared to. So I don't compare myself with other artists. I just don't care what other people are doing. Unless they're better than me, then I go, oh, I want to be better like that guy. He's doing it better.
That's words to live by, man. That's words to live by. So give us something for those guys that are in the chat that are watching that are currently in a job that they absolutely hate. I mean, they just detest waking up and going to work every day. What's your advice for that guy?
I just always think that our ability to choose our jobs really is an American luxury. That for most of man's history, he did not have these choices to just go, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
You'd go out in a field and you'd pick wheat, or you'd hammer armor, or you'd go into a coal mine, or you'd work in a factory. And it's really only in modernity recently, probably the last 50, 60 years, where you can really pick a career. And especially today, where you can be like, I want to be a professional YouTuber or a professional video game player. You can. But what if you're stuck in a job, in a menial job, right? Someone's got to do that job. I would say to find a trick that makes that job competitive and amazing to you, so that you can. There's something about learning to do something perfectly, even if it's laying brick, laying the best brick and doing the perfect job, is what I do. Like if I have to, when I built a pond in my backyard, it was very difficult. A lot of manual labor, moving rock and digging stuff out in heat of the day. I just kind of thought, how can you do this better? Because you want to sit on your ass and quit right now and cut corners. And when I worked at Wendy's, I would see like, how fast can I take an order and fill it? I was the guy where they would just go, he's an idiot and he's skinny and he's uncoordinated and he's tall, but that guy works his ass off. And so I would just try and.
Did you make origami out of the burger wrapping paper?
No, I didn't. I didn't do that. But
nobody got origami in there.
I wish you had made my burger the other day. Yeah. I waited probably a half hour in the drive-thru for a hamburger. After I had waited for a while for the car in front of me, they came to me and said, could you pull ahead? We haven't even began to cook your burger yet.
Bunch of 17-year-olds in there.
They were a lot older than 17.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So
I was unhappy.
So it's really wherever you're at, be thankful and work. And then, don't do a half-ass job. If someone's paying you money and they give you, let's say it's $10 an hour or $7 an hour, whatever your hourly rate is, you want to give a better return than what they're paying you. That's job security. Right. So if they give you $7 and you produce $50 worth of work, you'll be the boss.
Sure. That's I don't think I could give any better advice myself. That's that's part of the reason why I struggle with this whole, $15 hour minimum wage.
Yeah.
Because it's there's a whole lot more to that, and we can get into that another day. But
got to be a meritocracy. Can't be. Some guys just don't deserve 15 an hour for their work. They're going to stand there.
Like, hey, Stoder, would you have been willing to pay $7 more for your burger, with that crappy service you got?
Yeah.
If I could have had it in 5 seconds, I probably would have. But
but that's the other part of it. You can say that you deserve more, but I think that's even the bigger tragedy. Say, I'm capable of better work. I'm capable of giving better work, but I won't give you that unless you give me more.
Yeah.
Well, you took a job, and this was the amount that you agreed to do the job. So for you to tell me that you're capable of doing better, but you are not willing to give me better unless I give you more than what we agreed upon,
right.
Man, what a terrible, terrible thought as a boss. I that would anger me. That would anger me.
That's every employer. Think how many times you've been paid an hourly wage and you didn't do anything that hour, like checking Facebook, held up a counter, wasted time. The last hour of every day is in most workplaces.
I'll be very honest. I had a grandfather that taught me, and my father taught me as well, that was stealing. That was stealing. And they told me that time is a currency, and the worst thing you could do is steal someone's time.
That's true.
Because while you can replace material things, time is a currency that you cannot buy, and you can't buy more of it, and you can't replace it.
Time is the true currency.
Absolutely.
Money is the illusion. They're paying you money, which represents an increment of time.
Absolutely.
You guys are starting to sound like Ann Barnhart now.
I'm a big Milt Friedman guy.
No, but to be honest with you, that's the that is probably a lesson that I try to teach my employees, that I try to teach my coworkers is man, you have to protect and respect time, because until we see our own time as currency, we waste so much of it. We waste so much of it. But if you don't see it as a currency, it especially as a precious commodity, everyone is only given so much of it. There's a finite amount of it, and once that minute is gone, that idle minute, you will never get it back.
You ain't ever getting that minute back.
And so it's really a mind shift. But speaking of people going to their jobs, so my brother-in-law Tony,
Yeah.
He's doing a presentation for his company right now. He opens up the meeting by and he's trying to watch the show on the side. He tells everyone, I could have been doing something much cooler tonight, talking with the creator of Earthworm Jim.
Oh.
But instead, I'm here with you guys. So obviously, I'm committed to this job.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, tell Tony I'll have him on my show. I'll have all three of you guys on my show, and we'll hang out over there. And I'll throw subs at you. I'll throw subs over here. And by the way, if you guys haven't subbed, then get in and sub. It's time.
Oh man, I'm sure his boss is super geeked about that one.
Yeah.
Speaking of subs, I'm going to put the link in for the Sandy Beige 42 pass because we finally have things working, I hope. Of course, tonight things were working and then they weren't. So we'll find out what you guys will be able to break.
There you go.
Yes, $0. It's free except for shipping. We did have to add a little there for shipping and handling. So you can only order one at a time, but you can have infinite orders.
Okay, get in there. It's time.
There you go.
Time to support the show. If you guys, this is the thing, these guys don't get paid for this. So if you're going to do the show and you buy a little something, throw some dough in. At least like and subscribe and throw the link around. I mean,
there you go.
You know, this is like 300 hours a year. That's a lot of work, man.
It's a lot of time.
All the YouTube audience coming in, just watching it, going, everything's free.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun though. I will say that we have a good time with it. So, so a lot going on in the country right now.
Yeah.
Tell me this. So there's no secret. You are a Christian.
Hardcore
Christian, hardcore for Jesus.
That's right.
So obviously, you haven't hid that. So tell me this. I've had a lot of buddies that I've argued with because they're so heavenly minded, they're no earthly good. And
That's
you know
right.
the type of people that I'm talking about.
That's right.
And they're really they hate Trump. I don't know how else to put it. They hate him because, you know, he's immoral. He's a terrible person. And if you catch me on the wrong day, you'll probably kick me out of your house. Just because I don't have time for that. Because I can't think of a single president in my lifetime that I would say, wow, they were a moral giant. But so tell me this. So what do you think about the job that he's done to this point? Or can you talk about that, being that you're a public figure?
No, okay. I talk politics all the time.
So how do you feel like how do you feel he's done so far?
I think he's amazing. So I'm a lifelong Republican. I've never checked.
You hear that? You hear that, Soder? Yeah. Amazing.
Oh, he's amazing.
Yeah,
I've never checked.
Soder voted for Hillary Clinton. So
I did not. Do not believe his lies. His lies are right.
Okay, so tell me this, Soder.
He just likes her legs.
Did you vote for Trump?
I did not.
Okay, all right. So a vote.
So you voted for Hillary. You have voted for Hillary.
Yeah, thank you.
I have so many Christian friends who could not pull the trigger for Trump. So they just go, look, I'm not going to vote for anyone, or I'm going to write in a candidate. I'm like, you want to kill babies. You just want to kill babies. Like, you can't put that on me.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, this is probably to back up Soder a little bit. I was very reluctant to vote for Trump. It was very hard for me to do. It was easy because of Hillary. That was the only reason it was easy.
Yeah.
Was I really just thought, I really don't want to vote for this. This guy's a big mouth. This guy's a numbskull. This guy's never read a book. This guy is not a conservative. He's never read the Constitution even. Yeah. And so I just kind of thought, I didn't think that his instincts would serve him so well. And And so I did vote for him. I voted for Rubio in the primary and then Trump in the actual election. And I was happy to vote for him, by the way. There's no effing way I'm going to vote for a Democrat when my number one issue is abortion and religious freedom. And I go, those will just get thrown in the can if anyone but Trump wins. So I have a chance with Trump.
Those are your two big issues.
Two big
religious
ones.
freedom and okay. All right.
Yeah. So, but now that I've seen his job, it'll be easy. I'll enthusiastically vote for him.
Wow.
Because you start to see that not only did he kind of luck his way in this time, but you see things that he did with his job where even no other Republican on that stage who are better people and better Republicans would not have fought for Kavanaugh. They'd have caved. They would have not have taken out this Iran general. They'd have been trying to be a gentleman too much, try and go easy too much. They would not have. So I'm just saying, when he picked the two conservative judges or constructionist judges that I was looking for, and the fights he picks and things like that, I really feel like he's the right guy for the job. I think he is the president of our time. And oddly enough, our time is full of people who are a-holes who have to do the right thing. He's our president, and I think he all enthusiastic. In fact, I will send his campaign money this time, which I would not do. I haven't given to the Republican Party in 8 years. For Romney and McCain, But for Trump, I'll actually send money to the campaign, and I actually think, given his judges, that I think it's immoral not to vote for him.
You hear it, Soda? You hear
I
this,
think
Soda?
he's making. I think he's trying to make a case to have laws directing people to vote a certain way.
Yeah.
No. Hey, that's the great thing about America. You can choose to be immoral if you want to.
Yeah, you're still free. You're still free to vote for who you want. But
I don't know, man. When we did that,
still free to be immoral. I mean, being immoral is not illegal.
What was that? Was that porn stream? What do we call it? Penny for your thoughts. You had a different take on that.
No. See now that let. In the words of Obama, let me be clear.
Let me be clear.
Let me be clear.
There are those who say.
No, I don't believe that the government. Okay, so we got into a conversation. Maybe you might have seen the show. We got into a conversation talking about pornography.
Yeah, I was on that show with Mercado where I was saying it absolutely should be illegal, and his whole stream just jumped me, man. And they tore me apart for that one.
And I made the argument that I could live with it being illegal, right? Yeah. And the reason why I said I get so sick of hearing everybody talk about. I'm a libertarian, but I'm a small L libertarian because life is very important to me. Yeah. And this idea that most of my libertarian friends a lot of my libertarian friends have that. A woman should have the right to choose. And I fully agree, by the way, that a woman should have the right to choose what she does with her body. Absolutely. Yeah. If she decides that she wants to put 10-inch gauges in her ears, she should be able to do that. If she wants to chop off her right arm, she should be able to do that.
That's right.
If she wants to turn herself into a man, as long as my tax dollars aren't funding it, she should be able to do that. But at the point that you choose to take the life of another and snuff another life out, it is no longer your life that we're talking about. Yeah. It is the baby's life. And until that baby can vote for itself and make a decision for itself, I believe that those of us that have a conscience should say, you know what, you're not going to kill that child.
Yeah. So the pro-abortion libertarian basically defaults and says, we don't know what that unborn thing is. It's not a life, and that's why we can take it. And I think science disagrees with that. Reason and logic disagrees with that. That is a human baby. We don't have the right to kill it in the womb. An innocent person. We can't do that. Is where we stand. But on porn, my point I made with Nick is I'm way more moral with the government than most libertarians are, and that I believe that the government, there's a lot of moral language in the Constitution, like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They're moral phrases. So you can't pretend like the government is this amoral thing that is morally neutral when it comes to the law. Like protecting free speech, it is a good. It's not protected out of pure binary, even naturalistic reasons. It is protected because it is the good. So you don't have to make a pragmatic case of do no harm, or you have to make a moral statement even for why do no harm is a good. Why not harm everybody? Why can't the government harm you? Because it's bad. Oh, really? And that's immoral, right? So you're projecting your morality into law already.
Well, so and here is my thing. So and we could probably go and talk about this for hours, but actually it's a perfect segue, I suppose, because I was a VeggieTales kid.
Oh, there you go.
Watching VeggieTales, right? And we're in such a different time, right? We're in such a different time as a nation. So growing up in high school and my early years in college, my passion was youth. My passion, and it still is to a great extent.
Yeah.
And I've invested a lot of my time and energy into helping youth, especially those less fortunate. And so I would spend my entire weekend, Saturday and Sunday, going by visiting my Sunday school kids, visiting my kids that I was going to pick up in a big bus. We'd go around on Sunday and we'd pick up kids for church.
Yeah.
And we pick up 60 to 70 kids in a school bus and take them and
that's what
church.
brought me to church, by the way, in 4th grade.
Well, every Sunday, that's what we would do, and eventually, some of those kids, their parents would come to church, and then the whole family would start coming to church. Yep. Mom and dad would bring them.
That's exactly what happened with us.
Well, most of them, that wasn't necessarily the case, but I'll tell you this, Jim. We would go in and we'd have to stumble across drunk bodies on Sunday morning and help kids get dressed so that they could go to school, and some of them get on with their hair matted, and I mean, they just weren't cared for, But let me tell you this, most of those kids knew more about basic morality and biblical principles and the Bible than kids raised in very well-to-do families now. Those same kids that I talk to now, they don't know even the most basic stories. And it's interesting to me how far we've come in such a short period of time, right? Yeah. And I'm not getting too preachy here. I just want to bring up a point.
Well, it's worse than you think it is.
Yeah, it's even worse than that today.
Not to disparage the people I go to church with, but there were a surprising number of them who, when we would talk about the big Bible stories, would be like, what? I've never heard this before.
Yeah.
And I went, well, this was Sunday school for me in like 2nd grade.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to someone about Noah, and they were like, who?
Yeah.
Noah. I mean, and I thought, that wasn't, but those were things that even kids that I would pick up whose parents had zero interest in going to church for whatever reason, that's their prerogative. But they would turn on VeggieTales for the kids.
Yeah, they knew what Noah was. I mean, they used to teach that in public school.
Right. Noah, So, but it's interesting to me. So the second round of VeggieTales, when it came back, I'll be honest, I didn't really let my kids watch.
Oh, you're one of those fans.
Yeah,
which is almost all of them.
I didn't really
look like they're on drugs. That's because of me. I killed VeggieTales.
So, well, I didn't let them watch because I felt like I don't truly believe, and my brother and I argue, and he's been a regular on the show, I do not believe that outside of Christianity that you can have, outside of God, there is no morality.
True.
that's my belief. Now you can come at me.
He's the source of all morality. So if there's anything moral, it came from him, even when a pagan accidentally does it.
Exactly. So I'm very leery of separating it.
Yeah.
If I tell if my son goes upstairs and tells my daughter, "Hey, clean your room," she's gonna say, "Fly a kite, get out of my room."
Yeah.
If my son goes to my daughter and says, "Dad said clean your room," the room gets cleaned. Why? Because there is power attached to that name. There are consequences if you do not do it. right? Therefore, I believe that there has to be someone greater. There has to be someone higher. There has to be, because otherwise your morality and my morality, your version of morality and my version of morality, if what's true to you is not true for me, then why should I listen to you? Right?
Yeah.
It's not attached to anything. There's no power behind it. Right?
Yep.
And so that was the issue that I had when I felt like VeggieTales was attempting to introduce morality without a supreme being, right? And
I wasn't involved with that. Our new reboot, they hired me because I was a Christian animator. I was hired by a gay atheist at DreamWorks. He was a great old friend of mine.
Sure.
But the only Christian animator I know is Doug TenNapel. So they brought me in to give my pitch of the show, and I came in. Oddly enough, we wanted to put more gospel in.
Yeah.
And DreamWorks and Netflix were okay with it. It was the VeggieTales people at Big Idea that said, we don't do the gospel.
Right.
And I said, wait. And these are the people that go all the way back to the beginning. Because I wanted Bob and Larry to actually present the gospel and invite kids to accept Jesus. They said they never say that. They never do that. I'm also, you're telling me that I can't ever, because the what everyone remembers about that, just like, oh, that's a Christian show. I'm like, actually, there's no Christ in it.
Yeah.
You'll barely see even a parable about him, about the crucifixion. And because I'm an insane artist, I go, I will nail a cucumber to a cross.
No, okay.
They said you can't do that, and I go, well, then you just want to do therapeutic moral deism. You just want to do like a soft sell morality tale, and that is exactly what they said. They talked about values for children. It was the VeggieTales people that were my biggest problem. Not the secular people were fine with it. They're all, you go tell your Jesus stories.
Yeah. Well,
that's so weird to me, because I want to remember, maybe this is a Berenstain Bears or Nelson Mandela thing, but didn't they have Bible verses in their early stuff?
Usually old. You'll notice it was very focused on Old Testament.
Yeah.
Anything from the New Testament, it was always therefore be kind to one another.
Yeah.
It was never, you were born fallen, not one man is righteous, no, not one, that no man can boast, that the atonement stuff, that language was never presented.
Right.
So the closest VeggieTales ever got was on our show, which all the evangelicals came out and said, I can't believe DreamWorks is ruining the show. It looks like it's on drugs. It's not Christian anymore. We won't watch it. That's what happens when you have evangelical. And what's weird is that VeggieTales show went out on Netflix. We did 78 episodes. More people have seen that. Like, it blew up. It was huge. According to Netflix, their numbers, they said tons of people are watching the show. We estimated about 31 million people had watched the first season, which was more than anyone had watched the VeggieTales for the last probably 5 or 10 years.
Well, those parents, they grew up on it, and then, they have a couple kids. So
yeah. VeggieTales was just harmless cartoons for Christian kids. I wouldn't mind if my kids watched it. They did not watch it. And I was never raised on, I never was into it myself, but I felt like we had a job to do, and I did my job the best. And you talked about what's the worst job you ever had in the arts.
I have a feeling I think I know where this is going.
Probably not.
So
it's the most difficult job I've had.
I want to answer something real quick. So Lido in Enchanted said religion is just a rule book. I'm going to tell you something about me. Listen, I am the least religious person you will ever meet. I cannot stand religion. I do not like religion. I do not follow religion. I am not a religious person. I believe in relationships, but I do not believe in religion. I believe that most religion is man-made. And I believe that religion can be lost, can lose the meaning behind religion. So I'm not trying to get preachy, but I'm not. You're not gonna find me endorsing a church or endorsing anything other than a relationship. So whatever church you decide to go to, that's up to you.
Yeah.
Just make sure.
And if I walk into your
right.
house and walk out with your TV set, you will lay down the atheist's rule book. Like if I say, look, I captured you fair and square. There's no God. No one's looking. We're all just particles. The particles shaped like my car. My body made of particles got in a car, drove to your house made of particles, and I grabbed you made of particles, put you in my car, and taken you to my house. I've drugged you, and I'm going to eat you alive, shoot it on video. You're going to pull out a rule book.
Shoot it on particles.
Yeah, you're going to pull out your rule book. And if I just said that's just the atheist rule book, would you buy that argument? I mean, does that say anything if I said that to you?
No.
So just the rule book? Well, it is a rule book, but it's a whole lot more than that.
No. So it's and he didn't say the Bible was. He just said religion
is just a rule book.
Just a rule book. So
well, religion has its rules. You know, I can't go in my church and just take all my clothes off. They're going to start telling me, you know what? There's rules.
You don't go to one of those churches?
No, I'm not.
Well, even relationships kind of have rules, though, don't they? I mean,
yeah.
My wife doesn't like it if I come home and I'm screaming really loud, or if I come home late from work, or
using certain language around the kids,
or using certain language around the kids, or doing things she just generally doesn't like. Those are rules.
Everyone has a rule book. Everyone's just a little bit legalistic. Everyone's a little judgy, no matter where you're from and what religion you belong to, or faith or creed you hold. Everybody, everywhere. It's not unique to religion. We're rule type people. And when you break a rule, that's when we roll it out.
I can't argue with that in any way. I can't argue with that, but it's funny though. It's interesting that going back to the whole porn thing.
Yeah.
Because
that's how we got started on this on this path.
And that's how we learned the worst job.
Well,
through the porn door.
My argument, in all fairness to everyone, was everyone wants to say that no, we cannot legislate morality. We can't do that. And I feel like every group, right, is legislating their version of morality, right?
100%.
The gay and lesbian community is trying to push their version of morality. The feminists are trying to push their version of morality. The Democrat Party is trying to push its version of morality. If those of us who are conservative, free thinking, dare I say, Christian individuals don't come to the table and lay down our version of morality, guess what, guys? We can't be upset with what we get, right? Because we have gotten away from it for so long. Oh, I don't want to push this on anyone. I'm not saying push on anyone, but you better come to the table and be able to, be able to at least articulate why you do and believe what you believe. And that's all. I don't want the government out there trying to force people to go to a church or force people to believe something. That's not what I'm all about.
Yeah.
But
well, I don't want them to force people to pay taxes either. I'm just saying they legislate morality all the time. And even saying you can't legislate morality is a moral statement. So I'm just saying you can't escape this stuff.
Yeah.
It's incoherent. So you're going to legislate morality. The question is, by which morality are we going to legislate people by? And in America, the founders said, we're going to consult the will of the governed. We're going to let people vote. That's what that's what the republic is for, is you decide. And it may fall down to a judge who you didn't elect, but the judge will decide or the voters will decide. And that's what we're trying to do. They're not saying that every law is moral, but they consulted a bunch of moral people to decide, how are we going to steer this ship, everybody? What's your best guess?
So, Doug, did you ever think, I mean, in this week, we have literally seen a branch or a party in our government support terrorists.
Yeah, I know.
Support terrorists and diminish the president of the United States for taking out a terrorist.
A murderer who killed like thousands of our soldiers, terrorist bombings around the world, and they're mourning his death.
It's amazing to me. It's amazing to me. But you know what? These are such amazing and fantastic times to be alive, right? These people didn't just become this way. That's why I've said on my show, and I'll say it time and time again, I love Ilhan Omar. I love Rashida Tlaib. I love Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I love those guys. They are doing more for conservatism than you or I or any or than Trump himself. They're doing more because they are the first ones. They're the most honest politicians I've seen in a long time. Yeah. They're coming out and they're saying exactly what they believe. And they've actually tricked the Democrat Party into showing their horns, to showing their true colors. Yeah. Now people can go to the ballot box this year and they can say, am I voting for this insanity? Or am I voting for truth? Or
I hate Trump enough to put a socialist in office. How much do you hate Trump? Do you hate Trump enough to kill employment? Do you hate Trump enough to allow them to pick your Supreme Court judges?
Yeah.
How much do you hate Trump?
Well, the most amazing part of this,
I think most of them hate Trump more than they hate terror.
That's true. That's true.
Well, since Trump was elected, what to me felt like it would take years or months, years, perhaps even decades for a flip-flop on a position to occur for any one person or party, now can be done in mere hours.
Yeah.
Right? Like just up to in the whole election, even up until November 2016, was this constant flip-flop of position.
Sure.
It was great to watch. It was like you literally said the opposite thing yesterday.
Yeah.
How this is 1984. We've always been at war with Eurasia, it felt like. It still does in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But what a time. What a time.
Well,
it's amazing.
And the most amazing part is I think that a lot of these boomer I won't even say Republican or Democrat, these politicians, they miss the old days where they could say things and then they could say something different at the next town hall, right? Based on their audience. But now they just haven't quite figured out that everything they say will live on forever.
It's on the internet. Yeah. They learned a tough lesson about that.
So when Joe Biden can't remember exactly what town he's in, you're all going to hear it.
There's a video going to remind him what you say in the primaries will be held.
So to your point, Soder, you're absolutely correct. And it's very interesting to see that I don't feel like they are any different than what they were 10 years ago. I just feel like their agenda is now being exposed for everyone to see. And now those of us that were saying, oh, they're trying to bring socialism, they're trying to bring communism. We don't sound so weird anymore. We don't sound like tin hat wearing conspiracy theorists.
And Trump shook it out. Trump is a response to we had maximum BS before he came. It was just at its pinnacle right before he walked on that stage, came up through the elevator, through the fog bank.
Sure.
and stepped out. He's a change agent. So other guys that are like they shake things up so that they will never be the same.
Yeah.
When Ricky Gervais did his opening monologue for the Golden Globes, he became a change agent. That room, he broke all the furniture in a way that you can't go on with business as usual.
Sure.
He reminded me a lot of Trump. Those guys who shake up a room. Trump shakes up a room in a way that I've never seen a politician do.
So having walked in those circles, I mean, entertainers are artists, and artists can be very emotional, temperamental at times, even, right?
Yeah.
How much guts did that take to get up there in that room, in that audience, and make absolute statements like that?
He was not trying to make friends in that room. I think he was trying to make friends with the rest of America. He understood who his true audience was.
Sure.
And by the way, that is a stand-up routine you would not have heard without the cultural path paved by Trump. It was Trump that allowed him to speak that kind of truth, because before he came along, as a conservative, I don't know if you guys remember, we were cowering and scared and
Feckless.
quiet.
Yeah.
And now Trump kind of said, you know what? We're going to throw mud back.
Sure.
And now you see a whole
laugh while we're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. He blew up the internet. He created a brand new outspoken conservative culture that didn't live before. And I've even seen things, because I've worked so long in the pro-life movement, trying to save babies, and just for 20 years, even pro-lifers, Republican, conservative, Christian pro-lifers, would just be quiet. After Trump, they started talking.
Mm-hmm.
So even how vocal we can be now for life is because this foul man said that he grabbed a woman by the hoo-hoo. What you intended for evil, God intended for good. And amazing things are coming out. I'm not saying it's all good, obviously. There's a cultural coarsening and a foulness and a disrespect for each other that also came, that I don't know if it's his fault or if just he's a product of what we're all doing to each other anyways. But
I even that, when that was first brought up, my wife, she was appalled by the statement.
Yeah.
But I told her, I says, as wonderful of a husband as I am, and as perfect as you believe that I am, I'm sure of it. If every conversation that I've ever had with my buddies was recorded,
we'd be divorced. Yeah.
You would not be happy with me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and who exactly is, let's pretend like Trump has no Jesus in his heart. Who exactly is the righteous man without Christ to redeem him? Is George Bush a good man without Christ? Is Kennedy saved without Christ? Is Reagan, can he stand on his own two legs and say, I'm a righteous man based on what I have done? Is that what we've been taught in ultimate moral
talking
sense?
To some boomers, yes.
Yeah, Reagan
disagree with
on water, if you ask my dad.
Yeah, but I'm only saying, when we say he's a good man and Trump is a bad man.
No, I understand
you
what
know
you're saying.
Because George Bush is one of my heroes whom I love, but I don't sit there and say like he is uniquely amazing because of Christ flowing through him, and Trump is uniquely foul because you can find no God in this man. Getting back to our previous conversation about the place of government and where it intersects with Christianity, the government is a secular institution. It is a bunch of guys. The way that they vote, everyone's doing their best. It is not perfect law. It's not the Bible, and it's not scripture. So you're doing your best. So the idea that the president, who's an incredible, say, a CEO of the country, the idea that he has to be perfect or something before he can do his job well, I think his job clearly is done very well. Better than Bush did, better than Clinton, better than Obama, better than all the presidents in my lifetime. Probably not as well or with as much grace as Reagan, but I'm not looking for a lord. I already have a lord. I'm looking for someone just to run the country. You know what I mean? Keep the terrorists out, protect my freedoms, lower my taxes so I can spend more of my money on my religion and my family and my cares, you know?
I've been so incredibly impressed with everything that I was promised that he was going to be. He's in a lot of ways been the exact opposite,
Yeah.
right? I was promised that he was going to be a warmonger.
Yeah.
Man, for the things that have been done, I mean, the drone being shot down, to the ships being attacked, to the embassy or the contractor being killed last week. They've tried to provoke. I mean, we'll go back to 2 years ago. I mean, with the gassing in Syria, you know,
Yeah.
and he's been very controlled, very, very controlled, I think, and has shown a lot of sobriety in making those military decisions.
Yeah.
And I thought his response with Soleimani was absolutely perfect. Don't hurt innocent people. Take out the person who was responsible for planning. My grandfather used to always say, "Cut that snake's head off." Right? You
Yeah.
know, you kill the snake, you cut off his head. You know, and one of the other things he used to say is, you know, there's two ways to kill a dog. You can shoot it, kill it, and end it, or you can starve it to death.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that's that's the approach he's taken with not only Iran but also with not Hong Kong. Oh my goodness, forgive me
Korea.
for that. With North Korea.
Yeah.
Saying, you know what, we're gonna impose these sanctions. We're not going to, when they are tired of the sanctions and tired of living a life of no wealth, they will ask for a revolution.
Yeah.
And I think that's fantastic. I mean,
And sort of just in defense of Trump, the way that I would put it is all these presidents that we've had already, right, have a unique skill set. Let's say 50% are things that are good that we agree with, 50% are bad and things that we disagree with. I believe that about almost every president. The question is there's like a percentage of Trump's skill set that he uniquely has that
Right.
better men do not have.
Sure.
But the times demand that skill set be employed.
For
And
such a time as this.
And I believe he's the only man who has that skill set, which really weird how he ends up threading the needle. You have the lowest unemployment, lowest black unemployment. All these certain rates are skyrocketing. You have a culture that's standing behind him and finally fighting for life, protecting religious liberty. He is very good internationally about certain things. Lowered taxes. I'm just saying, there's his unique skill set came in.
I don't dispute that at all. I just, in the election, I couldn't bring myself to vote for him.
What about November? What about this November?
We had a stream about that earlier last year. I think it was our first long form video.
What skill set on anyone else on that stage is better for our time?
I think in knowing Soder, he's more of an Elizabeth Warren guy.
Where's my gun?
Cherokee people.
Hey, where's my gun? Get used to saying that if you vote her in.
That's right. Yeah,
all of mine are going to be at the bottom of a lake. They are at the bottom of a lake.
Yeah, put them in a ball.
But to answer your question, kind of to go back a little bit about how Trump changed things.
Yeah.
I was a big Ted Cruz fan.
Yeah.
In the 2016 election, he was my guy, and then he wasn't. So then I had to pick. At the end, I ended up picking another candidate that was actually on the ballot. But I could tell a marked difference in Ted Cruz pre and post election.
Sure.
and I think this is most exemplified in the Zodiac Killer meme
Sure.
that he's become a part of now. And that guy just tweets about it. Not all the time, but quite a bit. And then maybe a more recent example is a recent video he put up where he's actually smoking in a congressional building.
Sure.
The guy just doesn't care anymore.
Sure.
So he has, at the moment, he has my support in 2020 if he chooses to run again. I kind of don't think he's going to, because of, everyone gets behind the guy that's
no
in
one
office.
with a brain is going against Trump.
But to that,
hold on. Wait a minute. Just so I don't, sometimes I have a tendency to misunderstand things.
Okay.
And yeah. So
for a second there, I thought you said.
Yeah. But for a second there, it sounded like you were saying that you were not only going to be wrong once, but you were possibly going to be wrong twice. Like, I can forgive making a mistake, but are you daft? You would actually vote against Trump twice?
I was about to say our first, I think it was our first long form video we did together. We had that interview about Trump.
Yeah.
He hasn't changed on those two positions really that I'm aware of. I haven't been following too closely the last 4 years on those specific two issues. I'll pay more attention and do some more research when it comes election time this coming November. But
for the people in the back, those two issues again are
life and guns. And specifically, he kind of went against the second one, guns, with the bump stock ban. But one of the reasons I couldn't vote for him was my reasoning for voting for a third party candidate was he's not going to win Minnesota without my vote. Even if I vote for him, the difference that Hillary would have and any other third parties isn't going to be enough to kick him over.
And
right?
Guess what? Guess what happened? Everyone that voted for, if he would have had those of you hardheads that voted for the third party, he would have won Minnesota.
He'd have smeared her.
He would have won Minnesota.
Just hypothetically, Hillary gets back in to run again. And
he'll vote for her again.
Yeah,
it's her time.
Yeah, and
it's
Trump.
Her turn.
Trump
he's got an "I'm with her" T-shirt. I've seen it.
Yeah, Trump has. Trump's ahead. He's got 50%.
Look, I'm wearing red. Oh wait, no, that's Republican. Never mind.
Hypothetically, Trump is ahead. He's got 50%, and Hillary has 48%, and Ted Cruz gets in the race. Polls show he's probably going to get about 5%. Do you vote for Ted Cruz? He and all of his 5% would come from Trump. Now think about guns and life and what's going to happen.
I'm disappointed he's even thinking about this.
This is my problem with third party, man. There's only two parties. There's only two people that can win.
That's true. That is true.
You got to vote for the most conservative person who can win. So it'd be different.
I agree with that statement, but we're also not in a.
Doug, can I interest you in a job as a co-host? I think I need another one.
All right. Well, maybe he won't boomer it up as much as I have.
I'll be the third party. I'll be the Ted Cruz of your show. What third parties end up doing is they make sure that second place wins. It's happened twice before. In fact, once was with Trump, because if Jill Stein didn't run, he'd have probably won. In the case of Bush, Gore would have won if Nader didn't run third party. And we've already seen Clinton won because of Ross Perot ran against the first Bush. So lots of times where the third place guy made sure that second place won because he drew out the votes from the first place guy. And that's not good for democracy.
I I agree with you in that other than Minnesota is typically voted blue. I mean, our claim to fame is that we're the only state who ended up with the electoral college votes for Walter Mondale in the what was it, 1984 election. So,
and you being a gun guy and a life guy, you don't see a problem with your state just going, look, whoever's blue, not voting for that. Whoever's red and going and possibly could win.
Well, okay, so
that math
the thing,
doesn't work.
I did look at the past year's statistics on how the vote broke down, and I couldn't, based on that, I couldn't bring myself to vote for Trump, knowing that the Democratic vote was going to carry it no matter what.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to give my.
You should give money to him. You need to give money to him, Soder, and you need to campaign for him and get all your gun and life buddies to vote.
Well, they actually probably do, but
it literally comes down to this: who do you trust more with your guns, Bernie or Trump?
I trust.
That's what it's going to come down to.
I trust neither of them at the moment, but
so the question is, who do you think you're going to have a better chance of winning the argument with, Trump or Bernie?
Yeah. And if you're going to live in a fantasy world and reality doesn't have to come into it like statistics or probability, if none of that counts and you're just supposed to vote for the best man, then write Jesus in on the ballot, because he's not going to win and he's not running, but it's as realistic as putting in another third party candidate. Because
I think you're misunderstanding why I voted third party. I view my vote as partially as an endorsement of the person I'm putting in.
Yeah, it's
like
not. You're allowed to view it that way, but it has never, ever been that. It is not an endorsement. If you have Hitler running and less than Hitler running, you vote for less than Hitler. It's not an endorsement of anything the guy does. Because behind the scenes, if you looked into any of these people's lives of what they've done, if you had a God's eye view of any man's heart, you'd be horrified.
Well, I'm horrified at myself.
Yeah, so you're saying the horror that you have against Trump, you might have rightly placed it on him. The problem is you haven't correctly placed it on the third party guy that you're going to vote for.
Preach, Doug.
Moral abject horror. There's no righteousness, and it's not any. It only comes from Jesus.
That dog will hunt. That dog will hunt.
Imputed righteousness, not earned, imputed.
His saying things like "grab him by the pussy."
Yeah, is the same thing.
Did not horrify me.
Yeah, is the same thing that Ted Cruz says when the cameras aren't on.
No, that wasn't a problem for me. It really wasn't. I thought it was hilarious. Yeah. No,
and it was probably true.
Well, I mean,
he's probably the only guy telling the truth.
When you're married to him, they just let you do anything. You just walk up to him.
When you're this famous, and he's right. He was like, all of Hollywood should have been nodding, going, "Yeah, we actually know it's true. We've all tried it."
Yeah. When you're this married, you can just walk up to him and kiss him, and they don't care.
Yeah.
No, that's my joke with the wife. I'll do things like that. No, the only two things that gave me pause were his stances on abortion, or the things that he had talked about on abortion, and his stance on firearms. Those it wasn't anything that he said in a moralistic way. It was, well, I guess life is moral, but how I thought he might approach topics about abortion and firearms, I didn't like where he was going with how he was talking. That's why I couldn't bring myself to vote for him. And then part of that was I didn't think he could possibly win Minnesota. So as I had talked about before, I view my vote as an endorsement of sorts of the candidate. So if I can't get yes, Trump is the less of two evils, but if I can't see him winning Minnesota, because there's pretty much never been a Republican who's won Minnesota,
Yeah.
why should I do that? Right.
Right.
Now in 2020, that's probably going to change. So that's now a little bit more on the table than it was in 2016.
My biggest reason I
Q?
could not vote for Cruz is Trump said that his father helped assassinate Kennedy and called his wife homely, and then went and campaigned for him. That showed me that he had no backbone. He is just another pragmatic guy, just like everyone else on that stage, no better or worse than Trump. He may be more principled. He's a constitutional scholar. I mean, no one's going to doubt his brain. I'm saying when he did that, I went, you know, you're doing a lot of people wrong by sweeping that under the carpet.
I'll be honest. My first choice, honestly, was Ben Carson.
He's a good guy.
That was my first choice.
Brain surgeon.
Brain surgeon. Loved his story. I mean, for him to be from Detroit, raised by a single mother, there were a whole lot of other options available to him other than becoming a world-renowned brain surgeon. And all of those options required much less internal fortitude, much less work, and much less. He had every excuse to do something other than what he did, and for him to decide to be great just meant a lot to me.
Yeah, he was the best man on that stage.
I would not doubt that.
Yeah.
The problem that I had with him was Trump called it. He said he just didn't have the internal fortitude. He didn't have he wasn't loud and boisterous enough. And I know that sounds terrible because those don't sound like traits that any sane person would want. But again, desperate times call for desperate measures, and we're dealing with a group of people who are definitely not they're not speaking softly, right?
Yeah.
And you have to answer insanity sometimes with a little bit of insanity.
When you're in a shark tank, when you're swimming with sharks, you want a shark on your side. That's a pragmatic argument. But I'll tell you, I feel better with what he's doing and his instincts than even a better man like Ben Carson, because I think his instincts were a little bit scattered, a little bit shy, and it's weird because I think strangely Trump's impulse and his instincts serve him very well.
Sure.
His unique instincts are, because I just go like, look, he lost General Maddox. What an a-hole. He's crazy. When he would lose all these guys in these killer positions, and these were great men.
Right.
But somehow you just look in hindsight and go, whatever he's doing, it is working. That's a pragmatic argument. It is working.
So let me ask you this before we let you go.
Yeah.
How do you think this Me Too campaign is working for the Dems? I mean, because it doesn't seem like it's working in their favor.
Yeah. Ironically, because all of their values are pragmatism, yet nothing they try works and they don't learn from it. Even a pragmatist will start to go, we got to do something that people are going to buy, and no one's buying it. So even by their own values, it's not working. But I think they've wrecked culture. The average person is really upset with what they do with culture. I'm against gay marriage, and I get almost as much heat from that on the right now as I do on the left. I'm pro-life, and I'm against abortion, even in cases of rape and incest. And I have pretty controversial positions that
Whoa. You don't believe that a woman gets a free pass to kill her baby if it's really?
Yeah.
That's a pretty hard line stand.
It is, yeah. The dad sinned, so we're going to punish the baby. That don't work.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm an absolutist. I'm an abolitionist when it comes to abortion. But I'm just saying those are my credentials. I'm saying the Hollywood Me Too stuff is a form of Marxism and feminism that has been mainstreamed And now you have the highest pinnacles of culture representing that and pushing it out to us in Me Too. Soft forms of it in our schools and among our kids. Everyone gets Me Too'd. Every HR department and every company.
Wow. Well, there have been people on every level in on both sides of the aisle that have, and I'll stand up and say as a dad of a
Yeah.
daughter,
Yeah.
hands off, right?
Yep.
And obviously women should be respected.
Yep.
But at the same time, um, I would love to see the numbers of those that have been outed as a result of this, but some of their greatest champions are being taken down by their own devices. You know,
Yeah.
The poem comes to mind. Oh, what a tangled web we weave. You know,
Yeah.
And it's sad to see. It's really sad to see um, that something that they meant for um, something that they meant that sounded like it had honorable intentions has really negatively affected a lot of people.
Yeah.
Um,
The
it,
curtain was lifted. And by the way, there's so many more people who still did those terrible things that are keeping their job, and everyone's still bearing it and keeping silent, all the
sure,
way up to the top of the studio level.
sure,
They
sure,
all know, and they're not telling.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And the sad part is that you know, you have so many people that were willing to put themselves in very terrible positions in order uh, to get a certain level of fame, and
uh,
that
yeah, a
and
very
that's
high percentage of actresses, of women actors, would be glad to be Me Too'd if it got them an acting opportunity. They'd be
yeah.
willing to do that all day. It's
And
the rare ones that I think were really upset and had
well,
the
I mean,
values to say, "Hey, this ain't right."
look at the young lady who got up at the Golden Globes talking about that again,
Yeah,
who bragged about, you know, that thank goodness she was able to have an abortion, otherwise she would have never been able to get her award.
yeah,
And I'm thinking, wow, I mean that, you know, that's a high price to pay. That's a high price to pay. And even but I've always respected people who were capable of being introspective, right? Who were capable of looking back at a situation and saying, "Man, I paid a really high cost for that,"
yeah,
right? And to be able to at least come to terms with it and realize, you know what, I got what I wanted, but I lost a lot. You know, I took some major hits
yeah.
in that pursuit. But man, to be in
I
that
I
moment
killed
and
my
to say,
offspring.
I killed my child. Yeah, I'm still a mother, but I've got blood on my hands.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and I know this isn't a popular thing to say, but I really don't give a rip about being popular as much as I want to be right. Um, and that's where I stand on that. So it's sad to see, really sad to see, um, that and it was applauded. It was applauded that people in that room who are supposed to be intelligent individuals were thought that was just a great speech.
yeah,
And I'm thinking, what about that is great?
yeah,
What about that is great? I mean,
yeah.
I would rather live on the street than lose one of my children. I
That's
mean,
right.
and as a parent that has lost a child,
Yeah,
that is the worst. I don't wish it on my worst enemy. And so I would give anything to have my child back, and to see that someone would choose losing a child or killing a child over losing a piece of metal, a hunk of metal, and
yeah.
recognition. Well, that's sick.
You
That's
won't
sick.
find a sicker room in America than that room right there. I mean, that
I don't
room,
think I think
they're
you're right.
screwed up,
I think you're right. But
disconnected in an echo chamber. They don't even hear from us. They don't
no,
hear
no,
opposing views, different religions. They've never been exposed to what we believe.
I think Ricky Gervais, yeah, he definitely called it out right.
He did
From
the job of the court gesture. which is just he just tore the clothes off the king and just had a blast, and that's what we wanted, and he did a great job.
He did a fantastic job, and again, I think Trump being a billionaire, I feel like he has a better finger on the pulse of regular everyday Americans,
Yeah,
than any of those people do.
that's true.
And I, like I said, I think he's doing a fine job. Are there things about him that I wish he would do differently? Sure, there are. But at the same time, what he's doing is working. So I can't really argue with that. So,
Yeah.
well, Doug, man, this has been a pleasure.
Before he goes, we do have some super chats. We
Okay.
pulled a Nick and waited till the last minute to read them.
Pound through 'em.
First up, we have Osmodeus near an hour ago. Holy cow. I'm so sorry, buddy. His question is for Doug. Is that a freaking orc war boss head on your lamp?
That is my kaiju helmet that I've been working on for my own show. It's American Kaiju. It's a piece of art that I'm working on here. It's got a little working jaw.
Oh my.
Working on it.
You're going to put like an Arduino in there to control the jaw or something?
Yeah, I'm going to do. I already tried one rigging with a piece of wire, but it was collapsing through these tubes. It just wouldn't work. So I have to still work.
Nice. That's cool.
Very nice.
Sometimes I'm bored. Sometimes I'm bored on my show. Sometimes I get bored. I work on the kaiju helmet.
You mean you put off Bigfoot Bill 2 to work on the kaiju?
No, not when there's comic production. Look at these. I did pages. I'm doing pages. Inking.
I am looking forward to Bigfoot Bill 2.
We
as
launched
good
that in
as
February.
Bigfoot Bill 1 was.
Yeah. You're gonna.
It left it a cliffhanger that I was like, no.
Yeah.
You're like when you're at the end of a show and you're like, no, this can't be the way it ends. No.
Yeah, it's going to be a killer. I'm excited. And we're re-releasing Bigfoot Bill 1. We're combining it with the making of, and I've added 14 pages of story to it. It's going to have a new handsome cover, new editions. So Bigfoot Bill 1 and 2 comes out in February. I'm going to try to clean up some of my Earthworm Jim overprint also on a Kickstarter probably. So I'm going to try that.
Okay.
Too.
Well, that doesn't bode well for my extra set of Bigfoot Bill. All right. Up next, we also have Osmodeus again. He said, "You heard it here first, folks. Trump is ordained by God." I believe that was right around the moral discussion.
I believe, by the way, all of our presidents are ordained by God. That was hard to get out during Obama, but I said, God chooses through the electorate who is supposed to be the president. Doesn't make Trump or Obama good or bad, but I'm just saying I do believe there's a master plan with all these guys going down all the way up to the top.
That is very Romans 13.
Yeah.
And up next, Osmodeus again for $2. Thank you, buddy. You guys, we got to vote Democrats so they come for our guns and start Civil War II, Electric Boogaloo sooner. That scares the excrement out of me as a Civil War II, because it's not going to be North versus South. It's probably going to be more city versus country. If we're that lucky, it's probably going to be what they say Civil War I was in neighbor versus neighbor. Quite literally, not just, hey, that guy over on the other state line that's, the next farm over, but then, a bunch of other people aren't neighbors. It's literally going to be my neighbor, and that's for everyone. Scares the excrement out of me. I don't know. What about you guys?
Q?
As far as Civil War II?
Yeah.
And well, it definitely won't be a race war. I feel that it'll definitely be a war of ideologies. And I feel like the problem is I don't know that I feel like it would be much more chaotic, right? It's not going to be as simple as North versus South.
Yeah, it ain't gonna work.
They're doing everything they can to separate people on to bring about separation of sexes, you know, of politics, you know, going so far as, you know, now in the LGBTQ group is infighting, you know, how gay is gay enough, or
Yeah.
you know, well, we don't believe that trans people should have a platform here, you know. I'm non-binary, I think gender is just, you know, so I mean, so even the groups that once were able to work together, no one's able to do that anymore. So I think this war of ideals is probably causing more of an issue, which, you know, I think that hopefully it can bring about what the original founders wanted. Maybe the republic will come back. Maybe people can have their states and run their states how they want to. And if you really, really want to live this way, move to California.
Yeah.
If you really want to live this way, move to Texas, right? So hopefully that would be the outcome.
I don't think the government will ever come take our guns. They'll make your life so miserable that you'll be begging them to take them from you.
Hmm.
The way the government, if you look at the gay marriage agenda and the way that they, and you know, pulling drinking straws and messing with your plastic bags, or the price of fuel, you know, they'll just put $1,000 tax on every bullet, or you won't be able to get a job if you have a unregistered gun. Before you can get a job, before they'll legalize your work permit, you'll have to register your gun. It'll be a slow, put the frog in the water and heat up the water. It'll never be like, hey, we're coming for your guns and start that war. It won't happen that way. It'll happen over generations, so that by the end, you'll have conservative, free-thinking Christians saying it's the right thing to do to get rid of our guns and turn them into the government.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the law.
Yes.
It's the law.
Yes.
But we've seen that in other in with other issues. So it's
Yes,
not
you do.
it's not so foreign to think that we could come to that place, you know.
You'll hand your guns down to your grandkids, and the
Yeah,
grandkids will
well,
turn them into the government, and that works too.
I've talked to many people who, you know, during the Obama years, when people, you know, you had people being killed by the police and things like that, and that's another topic for another day. But I felt like, so I'm gonna get some people mad. I agreed with a lot of what Black Lives Matter said.
Sure.
I really did. I agreed with a lot of what they said, not what they did, what they said.
Yeah.
But man, the stuff that I disagreed with was just over the top, right?
Yeah.
And you can't claim that the government is the problem, yet expect that they're going to be a competent solution to that same problem.
Yeah.
But I felt like where they missed the boat was not unifying people
Yep.
of all races, of all
Yep.
creeds, against police violence. As people, as Americans, saying we are going to stand up as people against government overreach. We are going to stand together against police brutality, against all people, not black people, not brown people, against all people. Had they done that, that movement would have really taken off, and you might have
the
seen
movement
real
started well,
change.
then it got taken over by divisionist Democrat hucksters.
Sure, because
And
it
then-
got politicized. You
Yeah.
can politicize something when it's racially motivated, right?
Yeah.
When you're separating yourself, of course it's going to be politicized. But when you're saying, no, this is an American thing, but I mean, it's rough to see. It's really rough to see. I mean, I'm seeing, you know, friends of mine who are black or other races, you know, oh man, we're going to pray for Iran, you know, and it's almost like they don't even see themselves. They've excluded themselves as Americans. And I argued with them. How can you ask for a seat at the table when you won't even come to dinner, right? I mean, you want a seat at the table, but you want to exclude yourself from America. You want to exclude yourself from consideration.
Yeah.
If our country is under attack and you refuse to fight for it and you refuse to stand up for it and you will side with the enemy, then what do you what are you asking for?
Yeah.
You know,
This
what do you
country
really
has
want?
a deep old wound with racism.
And it
It
does.
it's complicated, and it's not easy to suddenly just magically get rid of even when everyone's ready to move on. It's it's uh it's deep. I'm here in the South. I mean, it's nuts here in Tennessee.
It is, and you know, I'm from the South, and the only fist fight I've well, no, I can't say that. The last fist fight that I was
Mhm.
I was in Dayton, Tennessee.
Oh, yeah, I know that
I was in
area.
Dayton, Tennessee, and a guy started yelling, you know, N-word at me and this and that, saying, "Go back to Africa, you coon this, coon that." And
Yeah.
then I was fine with just walking. I was just walking with a couple buddies. And he took a cross that had white power written across it and whacked me across the back of my head.
Ugh.
And I tried my best to beat the living you know
As
what
you
out of that.
should, rightfully, as you rightfully
And
should.
and I was fine until he touched me. But at that point,
Yeah.
I was already angry. And I probably went a little further than I probably should have. Um,
No,
but yeah,
you did
it
fine.
absolutely ticked me off. So yeah, I understand that those things are there, but you know, that's the interesting part. Majority of the people that I talk to that complain the most about race have never actually met or dealt with a real racist,
Yeah,
right? They've
yeah,
never, they've never, they've never sat down and talked to a Klan member. They never
yeah,
met a Klan member. I've met several of them. I
yeah,
lived in town with a few of them. I knew who they were. I knew where they lived, right?
yeah,
Um, but that's the problem. They want to make. I feel like they really and truly. I thought it was dead. I really did. I knew there were racists out there, but they didn't really have a
mm,
platform. It wasn't cool anymore. And Obama comes about and does everything he can to resurrect it, everything he possibly could to separate people out
yeah,
by race because he understood that hey, we have to do everything we can to grab this black vote. But what is going to be the death of it? Once again, it's coming to an end. I believe that Trump will get probably 35 to 40% of the
he
black vote.
he will.
And
He
once he
will.
gets that, now you will start to see true change
Yeah,
because now you will see people saying, you know what? The black vote is in play.
yeah,
What do we need to do in order to keep this vote? It's
yeah,
never been in play. So the Democrats, they took it for granted. The Republicans figured they would never get it anyway. So, you know,
yeah.
whatever.
Didn't even try.
They didn't even try.
Yeah.
And I fault the Republicans for this. They focused so much on creating Republicans
Mhm.
that they forgot how to transfer their ideas, right? What is it about conservatism that's going to make life better for me? That's all that minorities wanted.
Yeah,
Well, what can you and Trump came along and he just put it real simple. The best thing he could have ever said. You've been doing it this way for so long. Why not give it a shot?
yeah. What do you have
Right?
to
What do
what
you
do you
have to
have to
lose?
lose?
What do you have to lose?
Yeah,
And the mainstream media was just, how could he say something like that? But I met people that were like, you know, he's got a point. you know,
yeah,
black people are killing each other by record numbers in
yeah,
Chicago, which is a liberal run city. Baltimore is a crap hole.
yeah. Detroit.
Um, you know, LA, Watts,
Yeah.
Compton, you know, South Central. These places are crap holes. They're killing each other left and right. Well, what do we have to lose?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What do we have to lose? So,
They're gonna be freed to pick either party finally and not be ostracized. Because
and they
I've
and they will, and I think that as they continue to exercise that freedom, that they will see more and more prosperity. and they will see a bigger slice of that American pie. But I think Trump did a fantastic job of just putting the cookies on the bottom shelf where everybody could reach them, man.
Yep.
Hey, you guys have been going this way for decades. What do you have to lose?
Yep.
And while it might have seemed a little bit disingenuous to some people, said, yeah, he's got a point. He does have a point. So, did we lose Soder?
Soder, he was down to his ice in his drink, and then his mic went off. So I don't know if he's.
Well, that's unfortunate. So, man,
I saw a $10 super chat from Scorpio 4.
I didn't.
Did he say anything, or was it just a super chat?
It was just a super chat. Scorpio,
thank you, Scorpio 4. That's nice.
Thank you very much. Hey, and let me say, I'm seeing some new faces in here. I'm sure you guys probably came for the real prize, and that was Doug TenNapel. So
those are my people. They're going to sub. We got to get you up there. Over, is it 2K? You're teetering on?
We're trying to get to 2K. So
guys, we got to get them over. My people got to get you over 2K. We'll have you on my show too. We'll help.
Well, I tell you what, I would love to. We still have so many things we could talk about. I'm very interested in your story, and the show kind of took a whole different turn than what I originally figured it would. But that happens.
This is all normal, man. All normal.
We started off angering the boomer gods. Hopefully we've pleased them now.
Yeah, are they happy now? Now that we spent the first 5 minutes of the show in silence.
Yeah. We had a moment of silence for my Mac. So, but well, are we all caught up then, Soder?
Yep, that was the last one by Scorpio. That's in there. So we're good.
Fantastic. Well, hey guys, I know it's late in Tennessee. You guys are an hour ahead of us over there, I think. So thank you.
I'm going to bed.
Huh?
I'm going to bed.
Well, hey, I appreciate you taking the time to visit with us. It's been a pleasure. So yeah, I'm gonna have to get a Stephen Hawking T-shirt made for you. Yeah,
out of the darkness. Yeah, when you guys are ready to come on the show, come on. We'll get Ty Beard too. I see him in the chat. I'll get Ty Beard on too. He's a buddy.
Yeah,
we'll all sit and hang, have a cigar night.
Yeah, hey man, I'm all about that life. That's fantastic. So, well, guys, thank you so much, Soder. Love you, man. Thank you for being on and taking the time to boomer things up and to fix. You're welcome. Fix the boomer.
Anytime, man.
True boomerism. God bless you guys.
It's great. Hey, you guys have a great night. Thank you very much, and we'll look forward to seeing you again soon.
All right. Night, everyone.
Night.